Welcome down to the Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, recorded in my basement on the south side of Chicago. My name is Chris. I have Dave sitting across from me. We are childhood friends that grew up across the street from each other. We've known each other since we were fetuses. And now we sit around and we talk about our favorite team in the whole world, the Chicago White Sox. How are you?
I'm good. How does that work, knowing each other since we were fetuses?
I'm pretty sure our mothers might
like rubbed
I'm sure they
pregnant bellies.
They
or
probably
something?
talked to each other. They were neighbors. I'm sure one was pregnant and the other was pregnant at the same time. I was a bigger fetus at the time.
Yes.
There was a point in our lives where I was older, which meant I was taller than Dave. Now Dave's like almost a foot taller than me. It's like, I mean, like, I got my licks in early as a child because I had to. Because now I don't want to take him on.
Because you just know.
He's athletic. He goes to the gym. He's got a bald head. He's a foot taller than me. I mean, like, I'm just glad that I got what I got my shots in when we were 7 and 6. You know what I'm saying? Before you had your growth spurt and I was an out of shape fat 41-year-old. All's forgiven though, right? I mean,
oh yes, of course, anymore, of course. Right? Okay. No, we're good. We're good.
There's a lot going on down here with Sox in the Basement. First of all, we got ourselves on iTunes, we got ourselves on Castbox, we got ourselves on Podbean, and as of yesterday, we are now on the Stitcher Radio Network. You can get us on the Stitcher Radio Network, where you can subscribe to the show, subscribe to all kinds of different shows, including our parent show, The Broadcast Basement, Beer, Fatherhood, and Funny. That's what that show is. That one's been going on for about 10 years. It spawned this show, and it's recorded in the exact same place, my 9-foot homemade oak bar in my basement on the south side of Chicago. And then we also have a new Facebook page, and we have got a lot of people that are already joining and finding it. If you just find Sox in the Basement on Facebook. I'm still fighting with Twitter to get my Twitter handle back, but we'll get that or an alternate one in the next week. And we just continue to expand, which is great, but we also have brand new equipment. And luckily, Dave, who runs a music store and has a music degree and had been a producer of music for so long, knows how to set up all this complicated stuff, because basically I set up most of it and then he showed up today and actually fixed it all for me. So before the show started, he fixed everything. We're talking through new mics and all kinds of fancy. I mean, I've never talked through like a screen before, like you see like on like ESPN radio, like on TV or something. I've never done this. Even when I was on professional radio for 10 years, I never talked through like a circular screen thing to make everything sound right on the broadcast. So I don't know. We got these big giant mics. I mean, thank God you're here, because I didn't even know how to switch the thing on the top of the mic on.
Right. So basically, if this sounds really bad, blame me, is what Chris is saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we're just trying something out here and we'll see how it goes. Okay. If you don't like the way it sounds this week, trust us. We'll hear it and we'll fix it. Is what I'm trying to say.
You're moving up in the world, dude.
I am.
You know, you've gone up from the. You've gone up from the,
deluxe apartment in the sky.
Well, maybe not there, but you've gone up to the from the $70 mics to the $400 mics. $500.
Ridiculous. Yes. Ridiculous $500 mics. I don't know what. I don't know how I'm getting away with this right now. My wife, I don't think, realizes what I'm doing. When the credit card statement comes next month, this may be the end. I mean, it was a good run. It's actually my anniversary today. 14 years. It was a good run.
Happy anniversary.
Right. I appreciate it. She was all nervous last night when we went out to go eat. Went to Cafe Barbariba up on the...
I saw that. I love that place.
North side. I love that place. It's really great. The tapas. I think that's just a fun thing to do. The little entrees.
Such a Chicago way of saying it's actually tapas.
Whatever. Tapas. Yeah, I'm from the south side. It's tapas.
That's all right.
Is it really tapas?
Yeah, it's really tapas.
Man,
yeah.
I literally spoke to like 6 guys at the carnival up the street at the kids' carnival this week and told them where I was taking her, and they all were like, "Oh, I like that tapas."
Well, you're on the south side of Chicago, dude.
It's the Jules is the tapas.
Jules, tapas, right? Garage keys. Well, that's funny. We have a friend who once upon a time used to call it topless cuisine. So,
okay. That would be an interesting place to take her for an anniversary. Maybe
Absolutely.
For the Big 15 next year.
Well,
okay.
Listen, let me give you a little bit of advice. Being a musician who has a lot of guitars and, they sort of accumulate over the years and a lot of musical equipment. I always tell my wife the same thing. When I die, please sell my music equipment for what it's worth. So... Don't tell her it's worth nothing. Tell her what it's worth.
Sell it. It's an investment.
Yes,
somebody will take it.
Exactly.
That's what we have to convince ourselves, so we can spend this much money on all this equipment, so we can be boys with toys at middle aged. Okay. there's a lot going on down here, but I want to get into what's going on with the White Sox, of course, this week. It was a terrible week for the Sox. They came out of really a run where they were either winning or splitting series. I think it was like 4 or 5 series in a row. They were on a roll where they're either winning or splitting a 4-game series, or winning 2 out of 3, or they're taking 2 out of 4 against somebody, and they're playing well. And then it just fell off a cliff and had a terrible week this week. They get swept by Detroit. I don't even want to get into it because here's the funny thing. I watched most of the first game against the Tigers. I watched most of the game on Friday night and watched them in that game on a bobbled ball in the infield. And Abreu's actually a very good first baseman defensively.
Right.
I think he's an underrated defensive first baseman, but he hesitates, bobbles a ball, and the guy beats the throw home. The very next day, on Saturday, I didn't have time to see the game, and I just walk into a Sport Clips up on Cicero Avenue, and I'm waiting for my son to finish his haircut, and I'm watching, and all I see is the bases loaded in the 8th inning, and a bobbled ball in the infield leads to a run scoring that shouldn't have scored. And again, they let another game go with bad defense. Right. There's been a lot of bad defense. That's the key to this team. And you can get yourself hung up. Like last week, we talked about specific stats with pitchers, but we've talked before in previous episodes about your OPS, and it's great for fantasy sports. But if you can't play defense, you're not going to win a lot of games. No. And that's the only thing I could say about this last week. This week, in my opinion, is vastly different if you can play defense. Now, it's not different like, hey, we're going to the playoffs different. I don't expect this team to do well. I don't want them going out and like I see these ridiculous comments on Facebook. Some drunk guy got on a thread that we're on yesterday.
Oh, I saw this.
I saw this rambling thing about how they need to go out and get more relief pitching and start winning now, and we shouldn't have traded Chris Sale.
Is that the guy? Is that the guy?
The rebuild's taking too long for this guy. I mean, 17 months of rebuild, and he's like, what the hell's going on here? I thought when we rebuild, we just get these guys, they come over, we're good right away. We've been banned for a year. I don't get that.
I saw that. All I got out of that conversation was that he wanted to sell his ass, or somebody was selling their ass.
He kept saying assets, but he was separating the word to ass space sets. And you could tell he honestly thought that's how you say, don't give away your assets. Like he didn't get that, which was brilliant. I love that kind of stuff. That's the only good thing about Facebook is when you see something like that and laugh. Okay, the political stuff is crap. I'm sick of watching cute puppies and kittens going down slides. I mean, I've gotten sick of that even. But the one thing that I enjoy is when somebody gets drunk, gets on their Facebook, and starts talking out of their ass. That's the only thing about Facebook.
They're assets, Chris.
They're assets. Okay,
yes, exactly.
And that, and I love using the GIFs or the GIFs. I don't know how you pronounce that either.
GIFs. They're GIFs.
Okay,
yes.
Because I've heard people say a GIF before as well. Okay, and I love that as well.
You've also heard people say tapas
I like
food.
I like to comment only in GIFs. That's the only way I like to comment now. I like to just put like funny scenes from a GIF up, and that's how I enjoy my Facebook now. If you're using Facebook for anything else except for that, or discovering great podcasts like this, then you're using Facebook wrong, I believe, at this point.
You are doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
So getting back to the defense, I think it's pretty understood at this point that you're dealing with a young team.
Right.
You're dealing with a lot of young guys. Renteria is there. He's trying to teach them the right way to play baseball. I think, weeks like this where they have brain farts defensively or at the plate or whatever, I think those are going to be expected. You should expect that at this point.
You can't expect to go on a run for 2 months and win more games than you lose with this team. They're going to be at the bottom of the division. I think the only reason I was disappointed is because it was Detroit. I feel like we're in better shape than Detroit right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I know long term we're definitely in better shape than Detroit.
Absolutely.
And you got Ron Gardenhire there, and he's like, I know how to beat the White Sox. I've made my entire living off of beating the White Sox.
And here he is
and he comes right in and he just beats the White Sox 3 games.
Yes.
With nothing but crap out there on the other side. He's just got a big pile of crap made out of 25 crappy players on his team. Okay. He even lost Miguel Cabrera for the rest of the year.
Injury. Tricep, right. Wasn't it?
And he still marches his crap out and just whoops the White Sox for the weekend. Like, there's the guy that I was like, and I know White Sox fans are always like, we should go get so-and-so, we should bring back Ozzie, we should do this. But I have always contended, why have we never sat there and said we want Ron Gardenhire on our team? Why have we never said, that's the manager I want running my team? I mean, the amount of times he went out there with subpar talent and won divisions with it. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then he walks in with nothing but crap and wins this past weekend, and it doesn't benefit him if he wins or loses. He's lower in a rebuild. They're a year behind us.
Right.
He's going to suck for much longer than the Sox, or at least he's expected to, and he still comes in and finds a way to win 3 games.
Well, didn't they sweep the Sox before in the early
I
goings
believe
of the
so.
series?
I don't have
so
the
that
thing
would
in front
be
of me.
that would be
Yeah. I mean, he's just doing what he normally does. He beats the White Sox. He must love coming in here. You know?
Yeah.
Like he must come to Chicago and just be like, this is my favorite town in the whole world. It ain't Minneapolis. Okay? His favorite town in the whole world has to be Chicago. He must walk in and be like, I own this place. They should call it Ronnieville. Okay? Guaranteed rate field? No. It's Ronnie Rate Field. I sit around, I was thinking about this, like how do we describe when we became White Sox fans? And I was like, I can't say 83 made me a White Sox fan.
No,
I was 6.
I was 5. We were too young.
Right, but I knew what was going on, but I didn't know enough about it. I do know that in 84, I actively rooted against the Cubs. I had a Steve Garvey baseball bat that I still have to this day. God bless Steve Garvey and all that he did for the Chicago White Sox nation by making sure we won a World Series before they did. Okay? But other than that, I think my really earliest memories of being completely into the team and knowing the players has got to be 85. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like right around that time, that's when I really know the players. That's when I really, and then to describe what it was like back then in that day to be a White Sox fan, I remember going up at 85th and Kedzie with my father when they just come up with ATMs. ATMs were a brand new thing. It was new technology. You didn't have to go in and see the bank teller, okay?
Right.
And my dad's standing there with me, and he's going to try out the ATM, I think, for like the first or second time in his entire life. And he's holding his card in his hand. He's like, what the hell do I do with this? And I just want to get some money out. And he's trying to remember. He's looking at he's got his PIN written down on a piece of paper, because he's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this thing. And he's standing behind this guy who's struggling with the ATM machine, who can't figure out how to use it. And all of a sudden, I hear my father go, John Cangelosi?
Whoa.
White Sox utility infielder.
I remember
Cangelosi.
Cangelosi.
John
Yes.
Cangelosi.
Yes.
He's standing right in front of us at 85th and Kedzie, trying to figure out how to use an ATM machine too.
That's amazing.
And you know what's funny is that, like, my dad was a Chicago cop. He was over 30 years with the Chicago Police Department. Okay. We lived in a South Side house. It was pretty much like any other South Side house. We didn't have a lot of money. Okay. And we were just your basic middle class South Siders. Most of the White Sox memorabilia that I had as a kid came from John Cangelosi's trunk that day. Because my dad was not going to go to a ball game and buy me all the stuff that I had. See? Right. But John Cangelosi starts up a conversation with him right away. And then walks us out to his car, and he's got like this beater, like mid-80s car, like something you'd see like out of like a movie where it's just like that box car with the front is as big as the back.
Does he got the car?
It's like a square in the middle.
Does he have the car?
4 windows.
Does he have the car like on the Victory Auto Wreckers commercial
much,
when
yeah,
dude pulls the door off? Okay.
He had like a beater car. He's playing Major League Baseball. He's got a beater car.
Well, hey man, he's a middle infielder.
Right, exactly.
Utility
middle
infielder budget.
Right.
What do you want?
And he comes out to the parking lot. He's got his beater car, and he opens up that big steel trunk where it creaks over. He opens it up. He's like, "Hey, kid." And he's talking to my dad. And I always think now, I was so young, I probably didn't even notice, but John Cangelosi struck me as the kind of guy who probably had in the middle 80s, like a cooler in the back with some beers just in case he met somebody. Right. Like, I probably got memorabilia, and Dad probably had a Miller Lite with him or an Old Style, like right in the bank parking lot. Like, that was the days back then when something like that would happen. And he opens it up, and he gave me an autographed picture. He gave me a baseball. He gave me a little mini bat. He gave me every promotion that the White Sox probably had that year. He had 20 or 30 of them in his trunk. Like, he must walk out. He must have been that guy when he walked out of the ballpark. Somebody would sit there and they'd be giving out stuff, and there'd be stuff left over because the team sucked in the mid-'80s.
Yes.
And there weren't enough people for the giveaway. And he's like, oh, give me some of them little bats with the White Sox symbol on them. Give me some of these things here.
Oh, I got one of those.
He's throwing him in his car in case he meets somebody who recognizes him. We spent a half hour in a parking lot with John Cangelosi. It was like my first brush with greatness in my entire life.
He didn't have a game that day?
He probably did.
He just said,
he had to get
some
some money out of the ATM, and he was probably doing something that day, and then he had a game in the evening. It was in the summer. I remember it was summertime.
Right.
He had to be playing, I remember it as clear as day, standing there with John Cangelosi, just handing stuff out of his trunk. And if you didn't know he was John Cangelosi, he'd have been one of those guys that, like, your parents would have said, don't go over near that strange man.
Stranger danger.
There's a strange man over there with a trunk full of goodies. Stay away from him. Nice.
So I grew up pretty much right across and down the street from you, Chris.
Right.
You were sort of in the middle of the block on the opposite side. I was at the end of the block.
You're a corner house.
Exactly.
You were fancy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You had a garage that had a driveway that went out into the street instead of going into the alley.
Exactly.
You
had the swimming pool though.
We did, not until we were older.
I
don't think the swimming pool came along until maybe 7th or 8th grade. But yeah, we did.
So getting into my first, when I can really remember, becoming a White Sox fan, you're right. We were too young for 83 to really know what was going on.
Yeah, I got my winning ugly stuff, but I don't remember it.
84, the team was terrible, and I was still only 6 at the time anyway, so not too many memories from there. But I definitely agree with you. The first season that I got into it as a White Sox fan was 85.
And I think we went for my birthday that year. I believe I have 8. I was 8. I'd have been 8. And I'd have been 7. My 8th birthday, you and I and one of our other friends, Ryan went, and the three of us go to Comiskey Park for my birthday.
Right.
My dad took the three of us to a ball game to get autographs from Ribby and Rhubarb. That was really the summer. That was 85 was like the summer of love between me and the White Sox, probably for you as well.
Yeah, that year the team was mediocre at best, but you did have a lot of players on that team who were worth watching. You had, obviously, Seaver was on the team at that point. You had Fisk still on the team at that point.
And then when Harold Baines hit a home run, you got to chant, Harold.
Harold Baines was on there. You had Ron Kittle.
My guy, my favorite.
Absolutely.
Got his picture here autographed over my left shoulder.
Absolutely. Your celebrity crush.
Yeah.
A rookie Ozzie.
I love you, Ron. Don't think it's weird.
Hey, if Ron Kittle's listening right now. And a rookie Ozzie Guillen, Rookie of the Year Ozzie Guillen, I remember was that year.
And so that's how I know that my White Sox love came from that, because I don't remember a shortstop really before Ozzie Guillen. There
was a lot to watch on that team, even though, like, I believe that year that was when the Oakland A's really started to become the powerhouse that they were. I think it was that
way for a while.
Right? And so there was no, and obviously back then there was no wild card. It was pretty much you won your division, which had 10 teams in it, or 17 or 8 teams, or you weren't going to the playoffs.
Right.
So there was never any hope of any kind of postseason back then, but there was a lot from that team worth watching.
Well, I always laugh. See, that's the thing. Some people become fans of a team when the team is good. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, a team is good, and you're a kid, and you're like, I fell in love with this team because they're good. That you always get that when you meet somebody that's from, like, another town, and they actually don't know the team. Like, there's Yankee fans everywhere, and half of them have never been to New York. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And they're like, but I love the Yankees because when I was a kid, they were always winning the World Series. Well, good for you. You picked a front runner. Congratulations. I fell in love with the team that sucked. Okay? I mean, we're like at the beginning of that Jimmy Fallon movie about the Red Sox that he had, which I can't remember the name of, with Drew Barrymore, but where his uncle's sitting there in the car with him when he's a kid, and he's like, this team sucks. They're never going to be good, and you're going to live your whole life and die and never see him win, like, or whatever he says. These are the conversations I would have with my dad. Like, I'd be like, they're the best. I love them. He's like, they're terrible. What are you watching? Watch this guy who, we're about to win a game. We'd be sitting in the stands and be like, they're going to screw this up. Just wait.
Right.
The following story is completely true. The names have not been changed because...
Hi, I'm Chris Lanuti.
Oh, really? Got to read it? It's 3 words long. You're like getting ready, like adjusting yourself.
Join me and my friends as we belly on up to my homemade 9-foot oak bar in my basement on the south side of Chicago.
I'd say expose them to as much violence and nudity as you can at an early age to prep them for life.
Was it hard to climb up the ladder in your skirt?
No, it's just embarrassing.
Oh, okay.
Each week, we talk craft beer, sports, fatherhood, and the oddities of life.
Your show is so different and fascinating.
Wait, this is a podcast? I just come over here to drink.
Join us for 30 minutes of good each and every week.
Welcome back to the Missing a Chromosome podcast.
It's the Broadcast Basement on Stitcher, iTunes, and BroadcastBasement.com. You want to try a new segment, I heard.
Yeah,
I want to do this.
So we're about just about halfway through the season now. We're mid-July, mid-June right now. There were a couple of guys, on this roster that, we're talking about being, cornerstones of the rebuild. And I kind of wanted to get your take on a few of them because, not going to lie, a few of the numbers to me for some of these guys are a little bit concerning at this point.
Okay, so here's what I think how we should approach this. You ask me without me looking at their numbers. Okay. And I haven't looked at any statistics or numbers for the White Sox since our last show. Okay. So I don't know how things have adjusted, and some of these guys I haven't looked at very closely. You ask me my impression of them. I'll tell you what I think of them as a fan, from a fan's view, and then you give me the stats and we'll see how close I am to what I think of them.
All right, well, let's just start with, an easy one here.
Okay.
Or maybe not an easy one, but a guy that we're certain is supposed to be a cornerstone of this rebuild, Yoan Moncada.
Yoan Moncada, I think is a better defensive player than a guy like Tim Anderson. These are my impressions, and then we'll see if any stats back this up. I think he's a better defensive player than a guy like Tim Anderson. I think that he is getting on base, even though he's not hitting well. His on base percentage compared to his average is probably at least respectable. He's got some pop to his bat, so I would imagine his slugging is up, but he does not have a high enough OPS to excite me. I would probably put him in the low 700s. Would be where I would think he's at. He's probably striking out far more than he's walking, and needs to work on that. I'm worried he might have an eyesight problem, to be honest.
Now,
with you.
why? Before we get into the stats, what leads you to believe about an eyesight problem?
It just seems like when he's throwing off speed, when he's getting off speed pitches, he's not making contact as well. Okay. And I'm not going to say that I came up with this theory on my own. I actually read, I believe, something where a former GM was trying to explain that this is something that you don't notice at first sometimes when you pick up a player, and sometimes the guy has a depth perception issue, and that if it were up to him, he'd bring Moncada to an eye doctor and say, we need to see whether or not you could see, because you're not seeing off speed stuff. And if he can't and it's not fixable, we got taken in that trade. And you hope that that's not the case. Okay, but he's having a real problem. He's basically Pedro Serrano right now. He can't hit the off-speed pitches. Okay, he needs hats for bats right now.
So hats for bats, nice. Sorry, that made me laugh. So
we're gonna get Joe Boost. We need to get Joe Boost some more rub, okay? Because something's not going right with the off-speed pitches. Did the
veteran pitcher drink Joe Boo's rum?
Obviously, James Shields drank Joe Boo's rum.
James Shields drink it. Okay.
Right, that's what happened.
Yoan Moncada, currently at the time of this podcast, 227 batting average.
Ooh, if you would have asked me to guess, I would have thought in the 240s.
No.
Man, it's getting worse.
On base percentage of only 302. So you are right. So you are
almost 100 points higher.
Yes, you are right about that.
In relation to his average, I felt his on-base percentage would be higher. If he was hitting 300 and his on-base percentage was 312, I'd be wrong.
Right,
see what I'm saying?
Right. No,
he's 80 points higher, so it means he's getting on base. He's at least getting some walks and finding his way on base.
So you are correct about that. Slugging percentage is a 401, so pretty much 400 even. So that gives you a total OPS of 703.
So
you're like
700.
So you're like right in it there.
He should be in the 800s.
Yes,
for what he is and what he's supposed to be, he should be in the 800s, and in his prime, he should be hitting in the 950s.
So what that tells you is that number one, he is walking. Okay,
right.
He's got 27 walks.
But how many strikeouts?
You ready for this? Are you sitting down?
I told you it was going to be a lot more than the walks.
98.
Wow.
He is due to strike out probably at this rate. You're looking at somewhere between 225 times this.
And how many walks does he have?
He's got 27 walks to 98 strikeouts.
Okay, so basically wow. So I mean, like just ballparking it, he strikes out 3 times every walk.
Yes.
If he comes up to the plate and doesn't get his bat on the ball, he'll strike out 3 times and walk once.
Yes. Which is interesting because
like
we're looking
at 7-year-old little leaguer.
But we're also looking at a 400 slugging percentage.
Right, if he gets his bat
so that means he is making contact also.
If he's got a 400 slugging percentage, and that means he's making contact. When he makes contact, it's good contact.
Okay.
That's what it says. And that, again, is the thing that makes me concerned. Like, why isn't he picking up off-speed pitches? How is he continuously getting fooled by pitchers? That's my concern with Moncada. Do I still believe he's a cornerstone piece? Yes. Do I think the White Sox believe in him more than, and I keep saying his name, I've said it in several podcasts, Tim Anderson? Yes, because they took that new guy and they're working him out at shortstop. They're not working him at second base, which was his natural position. The guy they drafted, they're moving him to short. Okay? So they obviously see something in Moncada, but I'm going to tell you something right now. They're not sure about their middle infield right now, and I'm not sure about it either. There's a lot of work ahead.
For the middle infield.
For the middle infield
Yes.
of this team. There's a lot.
So let's stay there. Let's talk about Tim Anderson.
See, he's going to be better right now in the stats after I said something bad about him, but I still don't like him.
Go ahead, go.
I don't like his defense. I would imagine he's hitting somewhere in about the 240s. I would imagine his on-base percentage, though, compared to that is a little bit lower. So like, you know how like Moncada was at 221 and then his on-base percentage was like 315. I'd probably say Tim Anderson's on-base percentage is very close to Moncada. His average is just higher. I would imagine his slugging percentage is probably close to Moncada's. And I would imagine he probably doesn't strike out as much. Right now, I would say if you just took hitting stats, you would say he was the better player. But I don't think he can field his position very well. And I think that I think he should be playing center field in 2 years because of the control you have over him and you hopefully find a better defensive shortstop. That's how I feel about him.
So here's where we're at. You're basically, and these are the reasons why I picked these two guys, because when you look at their stat lines next to each other, very, very, very similar. So we're looking at Tim Anderson right now has a batting average of 233. All right, so
he's
down.
dipped too.
He's
they've
dipped
had a
too.
bad week.
Yeah, he's
the
dipped
whole team's
too.
had a bad week.
He's dipped too. On base percentage of 301, which
so he's got a lower on base percentage than Moncada and a higher average. See what I'm saying?
right, but
So this is what I predicted.
but barely though, Chris.
Okay.
Barely,
All right.
because
They're close, though. They're both close.
Moncada was 302.
You're right,
He's
yeah.
he's
We're
301.
splitting hairs on that. You're right.
Yeah, very much splitting hairs. You're talking difference of 6 points in the batting average,
Right,
1 point
okay.
in on base percentage. Slugging percentage, Anderson has a 416, so he's 15.
Okay, so these guys are basically
hundredths.
the same guy at the plate.
Exactly, they're
What
the
are
same
we
dude
looking
at the plate.
strikeouts to walks?
Strikeouts to walks. Tim Anderson has 22 walks, so less walks than Moncada, but considerably, well, maybe not considerably, but less strikeouts than Moncada at 69 right now.
Okay.
So about
he's
30 less
doing a little bit-
strikeouts.
Okay, so he's doing a little bit better in terms of his strikeouts to walks, but they are essentially the same player right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Now-
so now when you look at these two players, if you're essentially the same player at the bat, and Anderson has had far more major leagues experience than Moncada, and I'm sorry, eye test wise, I say Moncada's a better defensive player than Anderson. Okay. I think that right there, I think, has to tell you what your biggest need is. First of all, you need to fix your middle infield because you're never going to be a good team unless your middle infield's good. So that has got to be a huge area of concern for the White Sox right now because you don't have a lot of depth at it. And Anderson, I see him as trailing Moncada in development because he's been up here longer and he's doing the same as the guy who's having his first full season. See what I'm saying? If you are a Tim Anderson fan, this should have been a prove-it year where he started to really do something, and he's not.
One more guy I wanted to just ask you about. Davidson. Matt Davidson.
That's my guy, man.
That's your guy.
I mean, he's my guy because of the fact that, one, he's already retweeted the show to his followers on Twitter.
Nice.
Okay? And two,
Thanks.
because and he does a podcast. And I think that if we have any chance of getting a White Sox player on the show, it's Matt Davidson in my basement.
Nice.
Because I think the guy's totally into podcasting, and I've got to say, like, once we get the Twitter thing working, you're going to want to follow it because you're going to get to see me schmooze Matt Davidson and beg him to come on the show. Okay, like nonstop, me just sending him messages like, Matt Davidson, I'll bake you a cake. You know, my wife will sit in your lap. I'll come up with anything I can. Okay, but anyway, like I said, Matt Davidson, I think is a guy that needs to get his average up. I've been saying that all year long. I bet you he's hitting 220. I bet you that he's got an on base percentage though. I don't know. I know his slugging percentage is big. I would say his on-base slugging percentage, I would at least combine him to be over 800 right now, okay? And I think that he's got a pretty good on-base percentage, I would say, as well, probably closer to 4. Not up there at 4, but he's in the high 3s if he's not up by the 4s. So I think that he's actually showing a lot of good signs as a hitter, but his average is low, and I've always said that if you're going to be that guy who's a thumper, you still got to have that average about 250. I don't like it when you can't get a hit at least 1 out of every 4 times.
So here you go with Matt Davidson's stats. We've got 241 batting average.
So he's doing better than I thought.
He's brought it up.
Good.
He's brought it up.
Good.
His on base percentage 357. So not quite up
I
to
thought
the
he'd be
high,
higher on
not
that.
quite up to
Okay,
the
but it is
400s.
over 100 points higher in his batting average.
But you are correct. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. He's got a 503 slugging percentage. That's good. That's what
Right.
you want to see out of a guy
so his
who's
OBP is well over 800.
who's in. Yeah, it's 860 total.
It's
right.
860. And if he got that, and now here's the thing: if he gets the average up, the natural thing that will happen is you'll see him draw more walks because he'll be a more fearsome hitter. You'll see that slugging percentage get into the 9s and the mid 9s. And then when you compare his numbers, his actual numbers, he will compare with guys that are at the top of the league in hitting, that are middle of the order guys on other teams. He can be that guy. He's not there yet. He was a good prospect. He's 27 years old. He's a guy that should develop into something. His career is not over. He had some setbacks in his career, and I'm rooting for him to be that guy. He's not there yet. So he should be batting every day. He should be getting developed just like Moncada.
The other only real interesting kind of stat here about Matt Davidson is you've got his strikeout to walks. So he's still striking out a lot. We got 78.
Everybody strikes out in Major League Baseball.
Right. We got 78 strikeouts. That's high.
Right.
That's high. But the nice thing that you're seeing here from Matt Davidson is he is also starting to walk more. He's got 32 walks.
Right. He's got the best comparables of the three guys that we talked about.
I mean, he's leading right now, just kind of skimming this. He's leading the team in
walks. If we could
walks.
teach him how to play shortstop, we'd be good.
Oh, God.
He'd be perfect.
You and Anderson, man.
Tim Anderson's never coming on this show.
No, you've just burned that one.
Unless we can convince him not to listen to it beforehand, and then I'll be very nice to him when he's here. Probably never coming on this show. You know what? I want Tim Anderson to prove me wrong. I do. That goes back to what we were talking about.
Of course, because
me
you don't.
As a fan.
Because you don't
want Tim Anderson to prove me wrong. I want to sit around and eat my words on Tim Anderson because I'm a fan and I love this team and I want him to be good.
And you don't want
Tim make me look stupid.
And you don't want to have to worry about filling a shortstop hole when we're trying to compete. You need that money for starting. You need that money for starting pitching.
I want him to come out and hit 290, play great defense, and end up with 25 home runs a year and be like Carlos Correa. That's what I want him to be. I don't think he's going to be anything close to that, and I would just take a middling infielder that was great at defense right now, but he's not that yet. I want you to prove me wrong, Tim, as a fan, okay? Because right now I take John Cangelosi. John, come back to me, John. Come back.
Another show is wrapped up. Another show's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. And then by the looks, it's going to be a good one. And we'll see you next week. And the nude is basement. And the nude is basement. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And it's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And by the looks, it's gonna be a good one. Nudi's Basement. Broadcast Basement. The Nudi's Basement. The Broad Basement.
Slancha. That was like Dropkick Murphys or something, right? I felt like it.